You guys asked for a Q&A. I've offered it to you. What comes next is your fault, not mine. Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville. I have no idea what's about to happen in terms of, I don't know how long this is going to go. I don't even know exactly how I'm going to answer some of these questions. I have looked at all of the questions that you've given me, and you gave me a lot. I've put them into some rough categories. So I'm going to start with questions about me, go through some questions about watches, then some industry stuff, and then finish off with the hardest ones to answer, which will be the YouTube ones. But sometimes I'll go backwards and forwards because one person asked me questions that go all over the place. I will do my best to answer every single question that you asked. Bear in mind, some of you asked questions that were quite long and had a lot of context around it. I'm going to just chop all that out. I have quickly read through the questions just so I can kind of order them. Inevitably, that means I've begun to formulate some answers in my head, but I will, to the best of my ability, give you a kind of unrehearsed, just this is what I think as we go. So with no further ado, let's kick straight into this. And Ilda, I think I'd say your name, sends me an email and says, since I started the YouTube channel, what's my most positive and negative experience? It's going to sound really sucky, but you are my most positive experience, you, my viewers. When I started talking about this with a few people, I was universally either warned off or told, get ready for the trolls, get ready for the negative comments. And I've not experienced much of that at all. A little, but you know, I'm a big boy, I can take it. By and large though, it's been amazingly positive, so thank you. The negative part, is trying to do the impossible, which is to work really hard at not working really hard. The more you work at doing this YouTube thing, the less successful it is. But if you don't work at it, it doesn't succeed either. So it's kind of like thinking really hard about not thinking about something. I find trying to do this gracefully, elegantly, is a real challenge, and I'm really struggling with it, and that's the hardest thing about being on YouTube. Tennessee Mike asks me, what's that thing behind me? I think he means this thing. That was once a pianola that my mother-in-law gave us. It was broken. We tried to get it fixed. Fixing a pianola is extraordinarily expensive. We stopped that. We tried to get rid of it. Getting rid of a pianola is incredibly difficult. I started to break it up. I got to a point where there was the back plane, and just the bench that the keys would be on, and it began to look a lot like a really attractive workbench. It's a project on the way to becoming a workbench that was once a stand-up pianola. A Vlog to Watch, and Mark P, I remember, asked me some questions about my career. Yeah, I had mentioned, I remember now, that there'd been some changes at work. Not huge changes, so Mark, no, I haven't retired from the RAF. I'm still in, wishing I was retired, looking forward to it. But no, if I was still in the office pre-COVID, I would have moved like 20 meters from one side of the corridor to the next. So in that way, not a big move. I've even still got the same boss, but in many other ways, it's a fundamentally new problem I'm trying to solve, a lot more new strategic issues. And apart from anything else, a whole new team with whole new team members and whole new personalities and personals and stuff to get across. So even though still in the Air Force, still in the same section, still doing broadly similar safety regulation work, yeah, I've just been really, a lot of my headspace has been gone into solving new problems with new people, and yeah, that's what I've been doing. What have we got? Founder Timeless Capital asks me just for some unrelated watch stuff about favorite drink, car, holiday destination, etc. Favorite drink, I gave up drinking a couple of years ago, so I don't really have a favorite drink in most people's sort of vernacular. almond cappuccino, almond milk only because well, one, I actually kind of like it now, but two, there's some health reasons for it. Car brand, I would have once said Lancia, but I'm not really into cars anymore. I've kind of discovered you can't use a car in a way that is enjoyable and legal at the same time unless you go off the road, and I can't be bothered doing that. So I've kind of given up on the idea of enjoying cars. Holiday destination, Europe. That's possibly not that helpful. A new place in Europe I haven't been before. I have been incredibly lucky with work. I have had the opportunity to travel a lot, and I love travel, and Europe is the best place to get the widest variety of travel options in a really easy and accessible way. So yeah, I'm not sure if that helps. Bike brand, Villia bikes. I will talk another day, one day, about why that is. And football, sport. My favourite sport would be AFL football, Australian rules football. I follow the Richmond Tigers, which for the vast majority of my life has given me nothing but misery, and in the last 3 years has been nothing but joy. So yeah. BJ Rhino, beetroot on a burger, yes. Beetroot, yes. Pineapple, no. Egg, yes. Pineapple, no. Seiko Monster, what side of the fence am I on? I'm on both sides of the fence. I'm pro Seiko Monster enough to own one, anti Seiko Monster enough to rarely wear the Monster I own, so I'm not sure where that puts me. IWC Big Pilot Thoughts, brilliant watch, iconic watch, beautifully made, fantastic. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant watch. After my last video, do I think we should care what's on other people's wrists? Yes, I do. For those of you who haven't seen, my last video was about, because I think there's one between now and then, I did a video talking about the complexity of brands, how they have lots of messages, and we should be cautious about trying to pick through what those messages are for other people. So, do I think we should care, given that complexity, what's on other people's wrists? Yes, we should. Wearing a watch is a kind of self-expression. To ignore the way someone is trying to express themselves, to ignore the messages someone is trying to send about themselves, is itself disrespectful. So should we care about what's on other people's wrists? Yes, we should. The real test is we should be careful in making assumptions about what we think they're saying. The point of my video was not to say don't care what people are wearing. It's to care, but also to be careful in making assumptions about what you think, about basically thinking a little bit before you open your big mouth and talk about their watch. Think about what that might mean at their end as well as at your end. That's really what I was trying to get across. What else have we got next? Oh, Pete Smith asked me a couple of questions. Can I do a state of the collection video? Yes, I can. Before I move on, I'll make a confession. I own somewhere north of 75 watches. So merely structuring that will be difficult, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. Can I pick a favorite watch out of those 75? It changes every day, but today I would say my Mueller-Glasuta M99 City. Rick Joystick, what's my favorite Seiko watches, and are there any in the collection? Okay, yes, there are several in the collection. Mostly Prospex divers, those are my favorite Seiko divers, and in particular I would say the SBDC series. For me, that is where Seiko watches are at their peak. That is peak Seiko at the SBDC 600 to 900 US dollar mark. Scott C asks, what's my favorite complication and why? GMT, because even when I'm not using it, every time I look at my GMT watches, it reminds me of travel, and travel just makes me happy. Stephen UK says, that's right, I remember this one, gone from high-end expensive watches to micro brands and G-Shocks, and he asks if anyone else can relate to that, and I think he's implying, can I? I can relate to it, but I don't feel it. I haven't done that yet. What he describes seems to be very common. People seem to get drawn up and then realize that they're no longer feeling the joy anymore, and that the joy was actually somewhere at a lower tier. I'm not feeling that. I won't say I won't in the future, but right now I don't feel it. Spring and Fielta, that's right, you asked a couple of questions. The first one, I have some vintage Alpinas, but I don't have any newer Alpinas. Is there a reason for this? Actually, there's a reason that you have massively misunderstood. I haven't done a State of the Collection video. I have 3 new Alpinas. I have a Sea-Strong 300, Sea-Strong Heritage, and a Star Timer Pilot. I love the new Alpinas, so there is, the only reason you don't know that is because I haven't got off my ass and done a State of the Collection video. Do I think that a level of design and finishing can never justify a price over 5Ks, or do you need an in-house movement? Absolutely not. You do not need an in-house movement. I've done a video on this. I've done several videos on this. 1, I think the whole in-house movement thing is vastly overrated. 2, the sheer, if you do any sort of parametric analysis, the actual cost of an in-house movement over a bought-in movement is normally $100 to $200. So the idea that that $100 or $200 difference in the price of a movement puts a cap on the price of a watch that uses an ETA of say $5,000, but allows a watch with an in-house movement to go on to infinity makes no sense to me. So no, there is no cap on the price of a watch that uses an in-house movement. No more than there is on the cap of any other one. Everyone thinks, that's right, everyone thinks mid-tier watch is going to be hardest hit. Who do I think is going to take it in the neck? Yes, I don't think it's mid-tiers. I think it depends how you class it. I would say entry-level Swiss guys are the ones who are going to take it the worst. The Mitos, Satinas, Tissot's, that sort of crowd. Who's going to cop it the worst? It'll be the brands in and around that are not part of big groups, or don't have a big hedge fund backing them, or maybe don't have a family that can hold the reins. So who that is, I really wouldn't venture to guess. It's really worth thinking about. Watch Pro, I think, has got an article recently saying they think up to 60 brands could go. That would be terribly sad, but I could actually see it happening. Next question would be, for those brands that use ambassadors, great to get my take on who I think is beneficial and what's the best kind of ambassador in today's social media driven environment. Okay, ambassadors. I think an ambassador's really got to do 2 things. It's got to bring new people to your brand and not piss off the people that are already there. And I think those are 2 different tasks that you need to do. So the primary thing you want an ambassador to do is to find new people who might never have discovered your brand, but who are interested in your ambassador. So they might be interested in Brad Pitt, they follow Brad Pitt, they see that Brad Pitt wears this, that makes that product, whatever, well, he's an ambassador for Breitling, that puts Breitling in front of people and gets them thinking about it. Likewise, Brad Pitt, you choose him because he won't totally annoy and piss off your existing customers. They might be kind of happy about seeing Brad Pitt, but they won't be unhappy. So I think you need someone who is out there, who brings in people who have never heard about your brand before, whilst at the same time not annoying the people that you've already got. I don't think there's a single answer for who the best person is, because I think it depends on who you are, who your existing customers are, who you want to be, and every brand will have their own answer. And your last question, do you know of a resource for rating the wave of micro brands hitting the market? No, I don't, mate. If you want to put together some sort of spreadsheet, go for your life. I don't know anyone who's doing it yet. That's right, Hervé asked me some questions. Have I ever done a triathlon with the Breitling on my wrist? No, I have not. Easy answer, because I have not done a triathlon since I bought it. A little bit disingenuous, I suppose. The truth is, I don't wear a watch when I do a triathlon. Again, a little bit disingenuous. I do wear technology. I'll wear a Garmin, but frankly, I couldn't care less what the time is. I'm wearing a heart rate monitor and a GPS, and that's all I care about. So I don't count that as a watch. So I don't wear a watch at all when I race. If I wasn't collecting Alpinas, what other brand would I choose? I'm kind of falling into that now. I've got a large collection which has some natural clumps in it. Even though I wasn't aiming to collect other brands, I do find that I'm clumping around Fortis watches and Breitlings as well as Alpinas. Breitlings is more recent. So I think now that I'm paying more attention to it, I have a suspicion I might continue to chase that. The other brand that is really interesting me is Müller-Glashütte. I bought one of their watches because I was interested in it, and it's just continues to amaze me how great that Müller-Glashütte watch is, and I'm really keen to get hold of another one. And I fear that might actually send my collection in a whole new direction. What else have I got? Oh, the Arthur family has asked if I plan on taking a holiday to Europe or overseas later in the year. No, it's unlikely I'll even be allowed to travel with work for at least another year and a bit. So no, that's not happening. The Phantom asks, have I ever thought of designing a watch or bringing a watch or a strap to market? No, mate. A man's got to know his limitations, and that's outside my skill set, so I'm not doing that. James Arthur asks, if budget wasn't a consideration, which watch would I purchase today? You see, budget's always something of a consideration. Even if someone bought me a watch and paid for it up front and gave me a $50,000 watch, yeah, that didn't cost me anything, but tomorrow I've got a $50,000 watch I've got to worry about. So I'm never going to say something that costs many tens of thousands of dollars. What I'll say is the single most expensive watch I am currently vaguely looking at buying, which would be a Vacheron Constantin 56 in steel with a silver dial. That's probably what I would buy today if money wasn't a consideration. Super Yova asked if I have any tips on photographing watches. In particular about not seeing the camera or the phone in the lens. Mate, that is a constant challenge. There's those people who do those like flat down shots and don't get any reflection, and I don't know how they do that. My tip is a cheat, which is go for something kind of arty and go for an off angle and just keep working it. There are times of the day where it just doesn't work, where I just can't get it right. So the next thing is wait for the light to be right is the only other tip I can give. Angles and get your timing right. Not sure if that helps. So I originally filmed this in one long episode, which ended up being nearly an hour long. I'm inserting some breaks into it. So that's it. That's the first part where I mostly spoke about me and something about some of my watches. Hold on, in a couple of days I'll put the next video up, which is more about watches generally and my ideas about, as I said, watches generally as opposed to my collection. Thanks very much. This has been Not So Obvious Watches. I've been Pete McConville. Hit that like and subscribe button. See, I'm trying to be a better YouTuber. Go over and check me out on Instagram. A lot of you ask questions about my watches. If you want to know more, go check me out on Instagram and you'll see more of my watches at not.so.obvious.watches. Could have made that simpler, I suppose. Thanks very much, and I'll see you later. Bye.